Have you ever wondered if one of the simplest habits in your daily routine could quietly influence how your body ages, how well your immune system functions, and even how effectively it responds to inflammation? It sounds almost too simple to believe. After all, we're constantly told that better health requires expensive supplements, complicated diets, or the latest wellness trend. But researchers studying longevity and nutrition have repeatedly found that some of the most powerful health supporting habits aren't complicated at all. In many cases, they begin with something sitting in your kitchen right now. One particular drink has attracted growing scientific attention because of the remarkable collection of natural compounds it contains. Evidence suggests these compounds may help support the body's normal inflammatory response, protect cells from everyday stress, and contribute to healthier aging. Even more surprising, these potential benefits appear to come not from a single ingredient, but from the way dozens of naturally occurring plant molecules work together. But before you assume this is just another health fad, there's something important you should know. This isn't about a miracle beverage. It isn't about replacing medical care, and it certainly isn't about promising instant results. Instead, it's about understanding how small, consistent choices may influence biological processes that scientists have spent decades trying to understand. And what researchers discovered may completely change the way you think about your daily cup. Inflammation has become one of the most discussed topics in modern health science, yet many people misunderstand what it actually is. Inflammation itself isn't the enemy. In fact, without it, you couldn't survive. Whenever you scrape your knee, catch a virus, or strain a muscle during exercise, your immune system launches a carefully coordinated response. Specialized cells travel to the affected area. Chemical messengers signal repair. Damaged tissue begins to heal. This short term response is one of the body's greatest survival tools. The challenge begins when inflammation doesn't fully switch off. Researchers have observed that many adults develop a low level, persistent inflammatory state that can continue quietly for years without obvious symptoms. Some scientists even use the term inflammaging to describe this gradual increase in chronic inflammation that often accompanies aging. Unlike an infection or injury, this process usually doesn't announce itself dramatically. Instead, it develops slowly. You might notice reduced energy. Recovery after exercise may take longer. Sleep quality might gradually decline. Joints may feel stiffer. Concentration may not feel as sharp. Of course, these changes can have many different causes, and no single symptom proves that inflammation is responsible. But growing evidence suggests that chronic, low grade inflammation is associated with many age related health conditions. And this is where nutrition becomes especially interesting. For decades, scientists believed foods simply supplied calories, vitamins, and minerals. Now they understand that many foods also contain thousands of biologically active compounds capable of interacting with our cells in remarkably sophisticated ways. Some help regulate oxidative stress. Others appear to influence immune signaling. Some may even support the health of blood vessels, metabolism, and the trillions of microorganisms living inside the digestive system. But researchers later discovered something surprising. The greatest benefits often don't come from isolated nutrients. They appear to come from whole foods and beverages where numerous natural compounds interact together. One drink has become a fascinating example of this idea: green tea. For thousands of years, green tea has been enjoyed across many cultures. Traditionally appreciated for its refreshing taste and calming qualities, it has now become one of the most extensively studied beverages in nutrition science. Researchers have identified hundreds of naturally occurring compounds inside green tea. Among the most studied are molecules called catechins. One catechin in particular has attracted enormous scientific interest. It's known as EGCG, short for epigallocatechin gallate. Although the name sounds complicated, its potential role is surprisingly easy to understand. Every day, our bodies naturally produce unstable molecules called free radicals. These molecules are a normal part of metabolism. Exercise creates them. Breathing creates them. Even converting food into energy creates them. Normally, the body keeps these molecules under control using its own antioxidant systems. However, aging, poor sleep, smoking, excessive alcohol, chronic stress, pollution, and highly processed diets may increase oxidative stress beyond what the body can comfortably manage. Oxidative stress doesn't automatically cause disease, but evidence indicates it may contribute to cellular wear and tear over time. Scientists have found that EGCG may help support the body's natural antioxidant defenses in several different ways. Rather than simply neutralizing free radicals directly, research suggests it may also influence genes involved in antioxidant production, encouraging cells to strengthen their own protective systems. That distinction is incredibly important. Imagine hiring someone to clean your house every day. Now compare that to teaching every member of your household how to keep things organized themselves. The second strategy creates longer lasting resilience. Researchers believe certain plant compounds may function in a similar way by supporting the body's own protective mechanisms rather than replacing them. However, that's only the beginning of the story. Scientists studying inflammation noticed another fascinating pattern. Certain inflammatory signaling pathways appear to become more active as we grow older. One of the most discussed pathways involves a protein complex known as NF-kappa B. You don't need to remember its name. What's important is understanding its role. Think of it as one of the body's communication switches. When activated appropriately during an infection or injury, it helps coordinate the immune response. But when this signaling remains elevated for long periods, researchers believe it may contribute to ongoing inflammatory activity. Laboratory studies suggest that compounds in green tea, including EGCG, may influence this pathway under certain conditions. Human biology is extraordinarily complex, and no single food can simply turn inflammation on or off. Still, these findings help explain why researchers continue investigating green tea's relationship with healthy aging. Yet the real discovery came years later. Scientists began asking a different question. Instead of focusing only on inflammation itself, what if green tea was affecting one of the body's largest control centers, the gut? Inside the digestive system live trillions of bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other microorganisms collectively known as the gut microbiome. Far from being unwanted guests, many of these organisms help digest food, produce vitamins, influence immune activity, and communicate with the brain. Researchers increasingly describe the gut as one of the body's most important health ecosystems. When this ecosystem remains balanced, many aspects of health appear to function more smoothly. When diversity decreases or harmful organisms become more abundant, scientists have observed associations with metabolic disorders, immune dysfunction, and increased inflammatory markers. This doesn't mean the microbiome alone determines health, but evidence suggests it plays a far larger role than previously imagined. Interestingly, some of the plant compounds found in green tea don't become fully absorbed immediately after drinking it. Instead, they continue traveling through the digestive tract where they interact with gut microbes. The relationship works both ways. The bacteria help break down the tea compounds. The tea compounds may help support populations of beneficial bacteria. This partnership creates additional molecules that researchers believe could contribute to many of the health effects associated with green tea. In other words, your morning cup isn't just interacting with your own cells, it's also interacting with an entire ecosystem living inside you. And this is where the story takes another unexpected turn. For years, scientists assumed metabolism was determined mostly by genetics and calorie balance. While those remain incredibly important, newer research suggests metabolism is influenced by a much larger network involving hormones, sleep, physical activity, stress, muscle mass, and even the microbiome. Green tea has become part of this conversation because some studies suggest its natural compounds, together with its modest caffeine content, may slightly increase energy expenditure in certain individuals. The effect is generally modest, not dramatic, and certainly not a substitute for healthy eating or regular movement. But researchers find the idea compelling because tiny biological changes, repeated consistently over months and years, can sometimes contribute to meaningful differences. Think about interest in a savings account. One day's growth appears insignificant. Years later, the cumulative effect becomes much more noticeable. Healthy habits often work the same way. This is one reason experts in longevity rarely focus on dramatic transformations. Instead, they emphasize sustainable routines that people can realistically maintain. Drinking a nutrient-rich beverage instead of a sugar-sweetened alternative every day represents one of those small decisions that may gradually influence long-term health. But perhaps the most fascinating research involves something almost everyone worries about as they grow older: the brain. Many people assume cognitive decline begins suddenly later in life. Research suggests the process may begin much earlier, with gradual biological changes accumulating over decades. Scientists are exploring how inflammation, oxidative stress, vascular health, sleep quality, physical activity, and nutrition all interact to influence long-term brain function. Green tea has entered this discussion for an interesting reason. Unlike many plant compounds, some components of green tea appear capable of crossing the blood-brain barrier, the protective system that carefully controls what enters brain tissue. Researchers are investigating whether these compounds may help support healthy brain cells, promote normal communication between neurons, and reduce oxidative stress within the nervous system. While much more research is still needed, observational studies have found that populations with regular green tea consumption often demonstrate encouraging patterns related to cognitive aging. Of course, these studies cannot prove cause and effect. People who regularly drink green tea may also engage in many other healthy lifestyle habits. But, together with laboratory findings, they continue to encourage further investigation. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson emerging from modern longevity science. There is rarely one single factor responsible for healthy aging. Instead, the body responds to thousands of small signals every single day. The foods we choose, the quality of our sleep, how often we move, how we manage stress, the strength of our relationships, and yes, even the beverages we drink. The exciting part is that these signals don't operate independently. They interact, reinforce one another, and collectively shape the internal environment our cells experience day after day. As researchers continue uncovering these connections, one message becomes increasingly clear: consistent, evidence-informed habits may have a greater long-term impact than occasional dramatic changes. But green tea's story doesn't end with inflammation, metabolism, or even brain health. Scientists have uncovered another remarkable area of research involving one of the body's most powerful defenses against aging itself, a process occurring inside nearly every cell every single day. And what they've discovered may be the most fascinating chapter yet. Scientists often describe the human body as a remarkable system of continuous renewal. Even while you're sleeping, billions of cells are carrying out repairs, recycling damaged components, producing energy, and responding to the demands of everyday life. One of the most fascinating discoveries in longevity research is that healthy aging isn't simply about preventing damage. It's also about how efficiently the body maintains itself over time. Researchers have spent years studying a natural cellular process called autophagy. The word literally means self-eating, but despite its unusual name, it's one of the body's most sophisticated housekeeping systems. Imagine living in a house where broken furniture, worn-out appliances, and piles of clutter were never removed. Eventually, even a beautiful home would struggle to function efficiently. Our cells face a similar challenge. As proteins become damaged and cellular components wear out, they need to be recycled or replaced. Autophagy helps perform that cleanup, allowing cells to remove dysfunctional material and reuse valuable building blocks. Evidence suggests this process naturally slows with age, and scientists are actively investigating lifestyle factors that may support healthy cellular maintenance. Interestingly, laboratory studies have explored whether compounds found in green tea may influence some of the signaling pathways involved in autophagy. While these findings are still being investigated, they add another layer to our understanding of why researchers remain so interested in this simple beverage. But researchers later discovered something equally intriguing. Healthy aging isn't determined by one biological pathway. It's the result of countless systems working together. When inflammation remains balanced, blood vessels function more effectively. When blood vessels stay healthy, oxygen and nutrients reach tissues more efficiently. When cells receive what they need, they often perform their jobs more effectively. This interconnectedness explains why nutrition researchers increasingly focus on dietary patterns instead of isolated nutrients. Green tea isn't powerful because of one single molecule. It appears promising because its natural compounds may support multiple biological systems simultaneously. Another area receiving growing attention is cardiovascular health. Your circulatory system delivers oxygen to every organ in your body, from your heart and brain to your muscles and skin. The inner lining of blood vessels, known as the endothelium, plays a central role in this process. For many years, scientists viewed blood vessels as simple pipelines. Today, they understand that the endothelium is a dynamic organ in its own right. It helps regulate blood flow, supports normal blood pressure, influences clotting, and communicates with the immune system. Studies suggest that diets rich in plant-based foods and polyphenols are associated with healthier endothelial function. Green tea's catechins have become one focus of this research because evidence indicates they may support the production of nitric oxide, a naturally occurring molecule that helps blood vessels relax and maintain normal flexibility. This doesn't mean a single cup of tea transforms cardiovascular health overnight. Rather, it illustrates how repeated exposure to beneficial dietary compounds may contribute to long-term wellness when combined with regular exercise, nutritious eating, adequate sleep, and avoiding tobacco. And this is where another common myth deserves attention. Many people search for the one perfect food that will solve every health concern. Science simply doesn't work that way. No beverage, supplement, or superfood can compensate for chronic sleep deprivation, inactivity, excessive alcohol intake, or a consistently poor diet. Researchers consistently find that the greatest health benefits emerge from combinations of healthy behaviors rather than isolated interventions. Think of each positive habit as casting a vote for your future health. One healthy meal won't define your lifespan. Neither will one workout, nor will one cup of green tea. But thousands of these choices, accumulated over years, may shape the environment in which your body ages. And that perspective is both realistic and empowering. Now, you might be wondering whether everyone should drink green tea every day. The answer isn't identical for everyone. Green tea naturally contains caffeine, although usually much less than coffee. For many people, this provides gentle alertness without the stronger stimulation associated with larger amounts of caffeine. However, some individuals are especially sensitive to caffeine. Drinking green tea late in the afternoon or evening may interfere with sleep quality. Since restorative sleep supports memory, immune function, metabolism, and recovery, protecting your sleep schedule is often more important than adding another healthy beverage. Researchers also note that concentrated green tea extracts found in some supplements are not the same as traditionally brewed tea. While brewed green tea has been widely consumed for centuries, high-dose extracts deliver much larger quantities of active compounds than people would normally consume through drinking tea alone. Some reports have linked excessive supplemental doses to liver-related concerns in susceptible individuals. That's one reason many experts recommend obtaining beneficial plant compounds from foods and beverages whenever practical, rather than relying on very high-dose supplements unless advised by a healthcare professional. There's another practical detail that many people overlook. How you prepare your tea matters. Water that's too hot may produce a more bitter flavor, while water that's too cool may not extract as many of the beneficial compounds. Many tea specialists recommend allowing freshly boiled water to cool slightly before pouring it over the leaves. Steeping for a few minutes often creates a balanced flavor while preserving the delicate characteristics that make green tea enjoyable. Enjoyment itself shouldn't be underestimated, One of the reasons certain populations successfully maintain healthy habits for decades is that those habits fit naturally into daily life. A habit that feels sustainable usually outlasts one that feels like a chore. That brings us to another fascinating lesson from longevity research. When scientists study communities known for exceptional longevity, they rarely find one magical ingredient. Instead, they observe consistent patterns. People often eat more minimally processed foods. They consume a wide variety of colorful plants. They stay physically active throughout the day. They maintain strong social connections. They manage stress through meaningful routines. They prioritize adequate sleep. Many also enjoy tea as part of a broader lifestyle rather than as a health product. That distinction is important. Health isn't created by isolated moments, it's built through repeated patterns. And perhaps that's why green tea continues to attract scientific attention. It naturally fits into a lifestyle centered around consistency rather than extremes. Yet researchers continue uncovering new possibilities. One emerging field examines how plant compounds influence gene expression. This doesn't mean they rewrite your DNA. Instead, scientists are studying epigenetics, the processes that help determine which genes become more or less active in response to environmental factors. Nutrition is one of those factors. Physical activity is another. Sleep, stress, and exposure to pollutants also contribute. Early research suggests certain plant polyphenols, including those found in green tea, may interact with epigenetic mechanisms involved in healthy cellular function. Although this area is still developing, it reinforces an exciting idea. Our daily choices don't simply provide fuel, they also send information. Every nutritious meal, every walk, every good night's sleep, and every stress management habit communicates with the body's biology in subtle but meaningful ways. However, that's not the most inspiring part. The most encouraging finding in healthy aging research is that it's never entirely about perfection. Many people believe they've missed their opportunity because they're in their 50s, 60s, or 70s. But scientists studying lifestyle interventions often observe measurable improvements across a wide range of ages. The human body retains an extraordinary ability to adapt. Muscles respond to resistance training. The cardiovascular system responds to regular movement. Sleep often improves with healthier routines. Dietary quality can improve inflammatory markers and metabolic health over time. Even the microbiome may change within weeks of adopting healthier eating patterns. These changes don't promise immortality. They don't eliminate every health risk, but they demonstrate something profoundly hopeful. Your biology is listening, not just once, every single day. If today's choices are healthier than yesterday's, your body notices. If next week's habits improve upon this week's, your body notices again. Progress accumulates, and that's a far more sustainable goal than chasing perfection. So if you're considering making green tea part of your routine, think of it as one piece of a much larger picture. Pair it with regular physical activity that challenges both your muscles and your heart. Fill your plate with vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and other minimally processed foods whenever possible. Prioritize consistent restorative sleep. Spend time outdoors. Maintain meaningful relationships. Keep learning new skills. Manage stress in ways that genuinely work for you. These are the habits that repeatedly appear in the scientific literature on healthy aging. Green tea doesn't replace any of them. Instead, it may complement them. And perhaps that's the most valuable message of all. Modern health science has become incredibly sophisticated. Researchers can now study individual genes, microscopic proteins, and complex interactions between nutrition and the immune system in ways that were unimaginable just a few decades ago. Yet despite all this technological progress, the conclusions often point back toward remarkably simple daily practices. Eat nourishing foods, move regularly, sleep well, manage stress, stay socially connected, and enjoy beverages that support rather than undermine your overall health. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs don't reveal entirely new ways to live. They help us better understand why timeless habits have endured across generations. The next time you prepare a warm cup of green tea, remember that you're participating in a tradition that spans centuries while also embracing insights from modern scientific research. Not because that single cup will transform your health overnight, but because it represents a small, intentional choice in favor of long term well being. And those choices matter. The decisions we make today may seem small: brewing one cup of tea, taking a short walk, choosing a nourishing meal, or going to bed a little earlier may not feel life changing in the moment. Yet over years and decades, these actions become the foundation of how we age, how we feel, and how resilient our bodies remain. Science continues to reveal that longevity is rarely built on dramatic breakthroughs. More often, it's shaped by consistent habits repeated with patience and purpose. That's why understanding the science matters, not to chase perfection, but to make informed choices that may support a healthier, more active, and more fulfilling life for years to come. If you enjoyed exploring the science behind healthy aging, nutrition, and longevity, consider subscribing and joining us for future conversations where we continue separating evidence from myths and translating complex research into practical insights you can use every day. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and remember that your future health is influenced by the choices you begin making today.